in this business risk, we should understand that there are two types of risk. One is speculative risk and one is pure risk. The nature of business risk is an essential part of every business. So we should understand that every business is very, very risky. Mechanical failures. Suppose the machine fails, then it will result in losses because of stoppage of production. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence. In this section on business, trade and commerce, we will be having a discussion on what is business risk, the types of business risk, the nature of the risk, and also we will be having a discussion on various factors which influence the starting of a business. Now, in this, let us understand what is the meaning of the word risk. So here, risks involves something which is uncertain. So whenever a businessman, he is investing money in any of the businesses, there is a risk of not getting any return on the money invested. So he may have to face losses in the business, or he may have to face some sort of uncertainty in the business. Now, for example, if the business is relating to fashion industry and fashion keeps on changing, then businessman is doing, he has to keep updating himself in keeping up with the changes in styles and fashion. But if he doesn't do so, he will be facing losses in his business. Now, in this business risk, we should understand that there are two types of risk. One is speculative risk and one is pure risk. Now, what do we mean by speculative risk and what is pure risk? Now, speculative risk is that risk of the business. So, whether you are having a profit or a loss. So, that is relating to the business. So, that we call it as the speculative risk. So, it is related to business, and other type of risk is pure risk. Now, this pure risk is, it may be due to some factor, the happening of some factor because of which you will have a loss. Now, for example, there is a theft in the shop or there is some robbery. So then what will happen is, if there is no robbery, then there will not be any loss and there will not be any gain also. So we should understand that speculative risk is related to the demand for the goods or it is related to the business activity, whereas this pure risk, it is related to the happening or the non-happening of an event. And then here, suppose it is theft or carelessness of the employee. So all these contribute to pure risk, and this pure risk, it relates to the non-happening of an event. So no event, then no loss. So there will be no profit also from this. So we should understand what is speculative risk, what is pure risk. Now, coming to the business risk, let us understand the meaning of the word business risk. The term business risk refers to the possibility of inadequate profits or even losses due to uncertainties or unexpected events. So, we should understand that business risk refers to the possibility of inadequate profits or profits are not sufficient or even losses. So, he may be having losses. Why? Due to uncertainties or unexpected events. Now, what do we mean by uncertainties? For example, the recent lockdowns which we had. So, because of lockdown, the businessman was not able to open a shop, as a result of which he had to undergo losses. And then unexpected events. So, because of any strikes or lockouts or anything like that, they are something which is unexpected, and because of which the business cannot run, and as a result of which the businessman will have to face losses. So, this is what we mean by business risk. So, it is the possibility of inadequate profits, and as we all know that profits are an indicator of the efficiency of the firm. Suppose the firm is doing very good profits, it means that all the activities are being done efficiently, and it will be necessary for the company to have profits on for its growth and survival. Then let us understand here the business risk. The business enterprises constantly face two types of risk, as I had explained to you earlier, that is the speculative risk and the pure risk. So speculative risk involves the possibility of gain as well as the possibility of loss. The speculative gains arise due to changes in market conditions and including fluctuations in demand and supply, changes in prices or changes in fashion and tastes of customers. So all these are related to speculative risk, that is changes in market conditions. Suppose the rival company has just shut down manufacturing, then there will be a greater chance of our product being sold, then including fluctuations in demand and supply. So there may be a substitute product which is there in the market, it has been stopped manufacturing, then there will be more demand for products or changes in price or changes in fashions. All these are related to speculative risk. Then here pure risk involves not only the possibility of loss or no loss. The chance of fire, theft or strike are examples of pure risk. For example, if there is a fire in the organization, then most of the assets will be destroyed because of fire. But if there is no fire, then there will be no profit and at the same time there will be no loss also. So this is what we should understand by the word pure risk. Now suppose for example, if there is theft, then there is loss. But if there is no theft, there is no gain also. So that is what we should understand by the word pure risk. Now next, let us look into the nature of business risk. Here, the nature of business risk is an essential part of every business. So we should understand that every business is very, very risky. Why we say that every business is risky? Because once you invest the funds in the business, it will be a very long-term investment and just taking back the funds will be at a loss. So we don't know how the business will run or how it will prosper. So future is always uncertain, as a result of which we should understand that risk can be minimized but cannot be eliminated. At the most, you can just insure all your assets and also insure whatever is possible. But then if there is any loss, then the loss can be minimized, but it cannot be altogether eliminated. Then next one, business risks arise due to uncertainties. So we all know that future is uncertain and business also involves uncertainty. So there are natural calamities, change in demand of prices, changes in government policies and prices, improvement in technology, etc. are some of the examples of uncertainty which create risk for business. Because of the outcomes of these, future events are not known. So business risks arise due to uncertainties. Now what are the uncertainties here? The first one is natural calamities. Now what are the examples of natural calamities? It may be floods, it may be quakes, droughts, etc. So they are all natural calamities over which we don't have any control. Next, changes in demand and prices. Now there may be changes in demand and prices because of the market forces which will be acting. So we cannot just tell how the business will be. Then changes in government policies. Suppose suddenly the government has a ban on the goods which the company is producing, then we have to stop the production of such goods. So it will have an impact on our business. And then improvement and prices also. So if the government says that you have to just sell the goods at a certain price, then all business will have to follow that. And then improvement in technology. Suppose there is latest technology in the market because of which the goods are available at a cheaper price, then we have to upgrade our technology also to match that rival company's products. So all these are the causes for uncertainties. They are some of the examples of uncertainty which create risk for business because the outcomes of these future events are not known. So we don't know how the future will be. So that is why we say that business risk arise due to uncertainties. Next, third one is degree of risk depends mainly upon the nature and size of the business. Now, whatever is the risk, it will depend on the nature and nature of the business. Suppose, for example, the type of goods and services produced and sold and size of the business. So it depends on the size of the business. If the business is being produced on a very large scale, then the risks also will be very huge and the profits also may be huge or it may not be huge. So depending on the nature and type. Suppose the nature of the business is it is relating to some perishable goods, then what will happen? We have to see that the goods are sold very fast, otherwise the goods will get spoiled and all of them will be a loss. So the degree of the loss is dependent on the nature and size of the business. Next, no risk, no gain. What is this no risk, no gain? It is an age-old principle which applies to all types of business. Greater the risk involved in a business, higher is the chance of profit. So we should understand that if there is higher risk, then there are chances of higher profits. Then next one is, let us just understand what are the various causes of business risk. Now, the first cause is the natural causes. Now, what do we mean by natural causes? Human beings have little control over natural calamities like flood, earthquake, lightning, heavy rains, famine, etc., and property and income in business. So human beings, so we all know that some of the natural calamities like earthquakes, floods, lightning, heavy rain, etc., they have an impact on the business environment, as a result of which the business may function or it may not function. So this is one of the causes for business risk. Then next important cause of business risk is human causes. Now, what are the human causes? It is dishonesty, carelessness, negligence of employees, stoppage of work due to power failure, strikes, riots, management inefficiency, etc. Now, under human causes, some of the business risks are dishonesty. Suppose there are dishonest employees, then it may result in loss. Then carelessness or negligence of the employees. If the employees are not very careful in handling the business resources, then it may also lead to losses. Then stoppage of work due to power failure. So because of power failure, the manufacturing has come to a standstill. Then strikes, riots, and management inefficiency. If the management is not very efficient, then that may also be one of the causes for losses in the business. Now, next cause of business risk is economic causes. Now, what are the economic causes? These include uncertainties relating to demand for goods, competition, price, collection of dues from customers, change of technology, method of production, etc. Now, what are the economic causes? The economic causes include uncertainties relating to demand for goods. Suppose there is a fall in the demand for goods, then what will happen? There will be no sale of that product. Then competition. So there is a rival product which has entered the market which is available at a lower price. So it will be giving a stiff competition to our products. Then prices of the goods. If the prices of our goods are very high compared to the rival products, then our products may not sell well in the market. Collection of dues from customers. So if the business has lent lots of money as loans to the customers and if they do not repay, then then that will be a reason for loss in the business. Then change of technology. So if there is latest technology in the market and then if we don't upgrade, then that will be a reason for loss. And method of production. So what is the method of production? So all this become the reason for business losses. Then next, other causes. The other causes of business risk they are unforeseen events like political disturbances, mechanical failures such as bursting of boilers, fluctuation in exchange rates, which lead to possibility of business risk. Now, other causes are, first one is political disturbances. Now, what is political disturbances? If there is a constant political unrest in the country, then the businesses will have to suffer because people will not come out. So, if everything is not normal in the country, then people will not come out of the house. So, they will be too scared to come out with the fear of any riots or strikes taking place on the road, or if they may be scared of chaos in the road. So that is why they will not come out at all. So this may be one of the reasons. So political stability is an essential factor for a very good business. There should be a proper political climate wherein people feel safe and secure to move around in public. So we should understand that political disturbances, mechanical failures. Suppose the machine fails, then it will result in losses because of stoppage of production, then bursting of boilers. So these are all related to mechanical things. Then fluctuation in exchange rates. Suppose you are involved in an import-export business and there are huge fluctuations in exchange rates, then it may also affect our income, and all these lead to business risk. Then next, let us understand what are the various factors which have an impact on the starting of a business. So, the process of setting up one's own business is called as entrepreneurship. So, what is entrepreneurship? It is the process of starting up one's own business. Suppose we are having a very good capital and we have a very good business idea, then we can always mobilize all the resources needed to start a business and actually launch a business. So the process of just mobilizing the resources and launching an enterprise, that we call it as entrepreneurship. Now, the person who sets up his business is called as the entrepreneur. So who is an entrepreneur and what is entrepreneurship? We have understood. Then the output of the business, that is the business unit, is called the business enterprise. So whatever he sets up as a business unit, so that will be called as the business enterprise. Now, let us look into what are the various factors which affect the business. So while setting up of a business, there are certain factors. The first one is selection of type of business. The decision will be influenced by the customer requirements in the market and also the kind of technical knowledge and interest the entrepreneur has for producing a particular product. Now, the first factor which affects the selection or type of business is the kind of product the businessman wants to manufacture. Suppose he thinks that product is of a very high demand and there will be always a demand for the product and the customers want it badly, or it is one of the favorite products of the customer, then he can always go in for a very good manufacturing of that product on a very large scale, because he knows that that product will satisfy the customer's needs. Then it will also depend on how knowledgeable he is about the production of that product. He should understand how the product is made and what are the various essential raw material he needs and what is the type of demand he will be having in the market. After studying all these things only, he can just thinking about having his own business. So the selection of the type of business is the most important decision when we start a business. Then next one is size of the business. What? If the entrepreneur is confident that the demand for the proposed product is likely to be good over time and he or she can arrange the necessary capital for the business, then he can start the operation at a large scale. Now, the size of the business. So, he should decide on what is the size of the business, whether it is a large scale business or a very small scale business. Now, after selecting the type of business, he has to just look into what is the funds he has, what is the capital he already has, and what is the amount of money he needs to start a business. Suppose he can find a source of funds for his business which is available very cheaply, then he can always start it on a very large scale. But then he cannot find the funds for his business, then better he starts his business on a very small scale, because whenever we just borrow and then invest that money in the business, we have seen that the most of the profit which is earned by the business will be going away as interest. So, interest will eat into the profits of the business, as a result of which we're better not to make any loans while starting a business. So, whatever the capital he has saved for himself, only with that, if he can start his business, then that will be the best business proposition. Then, third one is location of the business enterprise. Now, it is very, very important for us to decide on the location. Now, what are the factors which affect location? First one is availability of raw materials and labor. Now, depending on the type of business, we have to understand that the business should be located in a place where there is availability of raw materials. The raw materials are easily accessible, and the business also has access to labor. So, labor essential for the business has to be easily available. Then, power supply and services. So, whether there is ample power supply to the business organization, and services like banking, transportation. So, the business should be located in such an area where there is proper infrastructure. What kind of infrastructure? There should be banking facilities, that is to finance the business whenever there is an opportunity for financing. Then transportation. It should be well connected with all the roads to transport raw materials from the place of production to the place of the factory, and also to transport the finished goods from the place of the factory to the wholesaler's place or to the retailer's place or to the place of consumption. Then communication. So, very, very important. So, there should be a good communication network in order to ensure that the business is well aware of all the changes going around in its environment. Warehousing. Then, proper warehousing facilities are essential to see that whatever the goods are produced, they are properly stored and well protected until they are sold. So, the warehousing facilities and all these are important factors which depend on the location. So, while making the choice of location, we have to look into all these factors before deciding on the location of the business. Now, the fourth important factor which decide about the starting the business is financing the proposition. Capital required for investment in fixed assets like land, building, machinery and equipment, and in current assets like raw materials, books, debts, stock of finished goods, etc. So, capital is also required for meeting day-to-day expenses. Now, once you have the business idea and you have decided the scale of the business and you have also decided about the location, the next important thing which we should understand is the financing the proposition. How you are financing the proposition. So, it will all depend on what is the need of the such business. So what is the type of fixed asset we need? Suppose we need a lot of fixed assets, that is land and building, plant and machinery, furniture and fittings, then most of the investment will go into procuring these fixed assets. And then next we need current assets. Like what? Current assets like raw materials, books, debts, and stock of finished goods, etc. So when we have thought about all this, only then we can just decide about running a business. So if there are proper financing facilities to finance the business, it will have an impact on the starting a business. Now, the fifth factor which affects the business is the physical facilities. Now, the physical facilities like the fixed assets, that is land and building, plant and machinery, furniture and fittings, and also various other facilities like banking facility, transportation, etc. They will all be decided depending on the nature and size of the business. So, this decision to this factor will depend on the nature and size of business, availability of funds, and the process of production. Now, the next important factor which affects the business decision is competent and committed workforce. Now, what do we mean by competent and committed workforce? No matter whatever the resources you have, no matter whatever is the money the businessman has, so whatever is the technological know-how which he has, it all depends on the workforce, how dedicated the workforce is. If you have a very good, dedicated and committed workforce, then they will always contribute to the success of the business. So, it is essential for every businessman to see that he has a competent and committed workforce who will work for the development of the organization. Then, the next important factor which affects the business is tax planning. So, tax planning has become necessary these days because there are a number of tax laws in the country and they influence almost every aspect. So, tax planning has become necessary these days. Why it is necessary? Because tax laws influence almost every aspect of the business. Now, entrepreneur has to consider in advance the tax liability under tax laws and its impact on business decisions. So, he will have to think in advance what are the various taxes he has to pay and its impact on his business decisions. Then, the last one is launching the enterprise. After thinking about all these factors, the last thing becomes launching the enterprise. Now, what do we mean by launching the enterprise? The entrepreneur can go ahead with actual launching of the enterprise, which would mean mobilizing various legal formalities, starting the production process, and initiating the sales promotion campaign. So, the entrepreneur can go ahead with actual launching of the enterprise. Now, what do you mean by launching of the enterprise? It means mobilizing various legal formalities. So, you mobilize all the resources and then you just ahead with the legal formalities and start the production process and also start the sales promotion campaign. So, you just start the campaign and then see that once the supply reaches or once there is proper supply of goods, you see that proper demand is created for such product. The business enterprise can be a sole proprietor firm, a partnership firm, a company for which proper financial planning must be done to determine. So, while launching an enterprise, you can launch it as a sole proprietorship organization or a partnership organization or a company for which proper financial planning must be done to determine. So, I hope you have all understood this third session on business, trade and commerce. Thank you.